In a previous video, we talked about Day 0 provisioning of our campus network. Now let's talk about Day 1 provisioning use case for scaling out our network. For example, adding another wiring closet to our network. We will also look at Day 2 provisioning use case to provision new VLANs in our network. This is our lab topology with 2 splines and 5 leaves. We will add and provision CVP leaf 4A and 4B to our existing fabric of 2 splines and 3 leaves. Studios are very user-friendly for scale-out operations as such. The first step is to create a workspace. In our Campus Fabric Studio, we see the 2 added devices available for configurations. Add a campus pod and configure the 2 devices in MLAG as primary or secondary peers. Add the required VLANs and configure the SVIs. Once we are done with all inputs, review the changes and submit the workspace. Now let's take a look at another common workflow where we have to configure multiple interfaces of our campus devices. To start off, let's create a new workspace. We will use the built-in Interface Configuration Studio for this. In the Profile section, we can create interface profiles to define a set of Ethernet configurations, which can be applied to one or more interfaces so that all the commands defined in the profile will be configured on the interface. Let's create some interface profiles. I'm configuring a phone profile with switch port mode phone trunk, which allows for MAC-based VLAN assignment on the ports, and also configuring the voice and the data VLAN. I'm also adding the allowed VLAN list on the interface. Similarly, let's create a workstation profile with access port configuration and an access VLAN, and another access point profile with switch port mode trunk configuration. Then for each switch, we assign the profiles on various interfaces. Let us also create some non-profile interface configurations here. Review and submit the workspace. Here we can see the additional configurations being added to the leaves. Similarly, when we need to provision new VLANs in our network, we make use of the Campus Fabric Studio again. Configure the new VLANs on the main page. On the splines, configure the associated SVIs with the warp IP for each VLAN. Once the workspace is submitted, review the change control and approve and execute. Now let's look at the running configurations of our devices. On our spline, we can see the new VLANs and SVI configurations. Taking a look at one of our leaves, we can see that the interface profile configuration has been applied to the first 3 interfaces, and the interface specific configurations have been applied to the next 3 interfaces. All that we discussed here would normally be a pretty tedious task, especially when dealing with a large number of devices. But as we saw, Studios makes such processes very simple.